Laudetur Jesus Christus. Vatican and World News.
Today, Friday, April 30th, is the feast of Pope St. Pius V. And these are today's headlines. Pope Francis makes it easier for cardinals and bishops to be tried for criminal offenses in Vatican City. The Swiss Guard will hold their traditional swearing-in ceremony for new recruits on May 6th. And more than 40 people have been killed in a stampede at a religious festival in Israel. In the Vatican, I'm Christopher Wells. Pope Francis on Friday issued a new apostolic letter motu proprio on his own initiative, changing Vatican City law to make it easier to try cardinals and bishops accused of criminal offenses. Devin Watkins has the details.
Cardinals and bishops accused of criminal offenses by Vatican magistrates can now be tried by the tribunal of the Vatican City State. Up to now, cardinals had to be tried by the Court of Cassation or Supreme Court presided over by a cardinal. Pope Francis made the change in an apostolic letter issued motu proprio on Friday, which amends the judicial system of Vatican City State promulgated in March 2020. However, trials will still require the Pope's prior authorization before they can proceed. The change in legislation comes after the Pope addressed the issue at the inauguration of the Vatican's judicial year in March. In Friday's motu proprio, Pope Francis recalls the overriding need for the current procedural system to ensure the equality of all members of the Church and their equal dignity and position, without privileges that date back to earlier times and are no longer in keeping with the responsibilities that each person has in building up the Church. Pope Francis's decision to abolish Article 24 of the law, which provided for cardinals and bishops accused of criminal offenses within Vatican City State to have recourse to the Court of Cassation, is therefore based on the principle of the equality of all members of the Church. When the new motu proprio comes into effect, cardinals and bishops put on trial for common criminal offenses will therefore be judged like everyone else and by the same Vatican court according to the 3 degrees of adjudication. What remains unchanged is the need for prior authorization from the Pope before cardinals and bishops can be tried. The new provisions are similar to procedures in states that require authorization from parliaments in order to try heads of state or government ministers. I'm Devin Watkins.
Also on Friday, Pope Francis encouraged the members of the Chemin Neuf charismatic community in their mission of service of the poor, reminding them that the Lord counts on their boldness, courage, and enthusiasm. Father Benedict Mayaki tells us more.
Pope Francis on Friday met with the members of the Chemin Neuf community and its politics fraternity. Addressing them, the Pope gave thanks to God for the work of His Spirit manifested in their human and spiritual journey in service of the poor, who are often ignored and rejected in the pursuit of possessions, careers, honor, and power. He said that he hopes that their commitment to the service of others shared by the gospel will restore a taste for life and hope in the future for many people, especially the young. Pope Francis went on to remind the members of the Chemin Neuf community that the lay vocation is directed above all to charity within the family and to social and political charity. He said that it is a concrete and faith-based commitment to the building of a new society, adding that it involves living in the midst of society and the world in order to bring the gospel everywhere and to work for the growth of peace, harmony, justice, human rights, and mercy. The Holy Father also encouraged them not to be afraid to walk the paths of fraternity and to build bridges between people, especially in our world where walls are still being built out of fear for others. He noted that through their work, they make visible a poor church with and for the poor. He also reminded them that our concern for the abandoned in society comes from our faith in Christ, who became poor and is also close to the poor and excluded. In the face of the ecological challenges facing our common home, the Pope stressed the need for an ecological conversion that recognizes the dignity of each person and their capacity to seek and to promote the common good. He pointed out that the ongoing pandemic teaches us that we are all in the same boat and we can only overcome if we work together. In this regard, Pope Francis underscored the importance of reflecting on the presence of migrants and their reception in Europe, which is the object of the meeting of the Chemin Neuf community in Rome in these days. Concluding his address, the Holy Father invited the Chemin Neuf community to remain firm in their convictions and their faith. The Lord counts on your boldness, your courage, and your enthusiasm, the Pope said. Finally, the Pope imparted a blessing and entrusted each one of them to the intercession of Our Lady and the protection of St. Ignatius of Loyola. I'm Father Benedict Mayaki.
The great human and social suffering generated by the COVID-19 pandemic risks becoming an educational catastrophe and an economic emergency unless lay Catholics allow their actions to be permeated by a high and demanding form of listening to the suffering of the people, Pope Francis said this morning. The Holy Father made the exhortation in a speech to a delegation of Azione Cattolica Italiana, or Italian Catholic Action, a popular lay Catholic association that functions under the direction of the Italian Bishops' Conference. Robin Gomes has more on that story.
Receiving the Catholic Action Group on the occasion of their 17th National Assembly, Pope Francis offered a reflection on the significance of their very name, namely Action, Catholic, and Italian. The Holy Father said that their action belongs to the Lord and that they should never lose sight of the fact that it is the Holy Spirit who is the source of the mission of service to the men and women of our time, especially during this pandemic. For this, one needs to listen to the gospel and incarnate it in actions which are carried out gratuitously in fraternal relationship in the service of the people.
Anche a voi è chiesto di prendere sempre più coscienza che essere con tutti e per tutti.
Speaking about the Catholic label of the association, Pope Francis said that just as the mission of the Church has no boundaries, Catholic action is also called to be with all and for all. However, this does not mean diluting the mission and watering it down, but keeping it closely linked to concrete life, to the people with whom you live. Translated as making oneself a neighbor, the word Catholic, especially during the pandemic, the Pope said, has made the value of fraternal closeness even more evident despite the need for social distancing.
Attraverso il vostro essere associazione, oggi testimoniate che la distanza non può mai diventare indifferenza.
The Pope commended Catholic action, saying, "You testify that distance can never be indifference, can never become estrangement." He warned against a bad distance which looks the other way, that of indifference and coldness. Warning against the risk of ending up being clericalized, the Pope said that Catholic Action members should not become anything else other than what they are called to be through baptism. Reminding Catholic Action members of their call to be the leaven and the salt and light of the world, the Pope called on them to make an original contribution to the creation of a new integral ecology with their skills, passion, and responsibility. I am Robin Gomes.
The Pontifical Swiss Guard has confirmed the traditional date of May 6th for the swearing-in of 34 new recruits. The ceremony will take place without an audience out of respect for the current COVID-19 health and safety precautions. Lydia O'Kane reports.
The Pontifical Swiss Guard has confirmed that the swearing-in ceremony of 34 new recruits will be held on the afternoon of the 6th of May. It is the second year the ceremony will take place without an audience, in accordance with current protection regulations to avoid infection due to the COVID-19 pandemic. For the young guards, this event will be one of the highlights of their service, following in the footsteps of those who for centuries have sworn allegiance to the Pope. The date of the event commemorates the 147 Swiss Guards who fell defending Pope Clement VII during the sack of Rome in 1527. By taking the oath on the commander's flag, they promise eternal loyalty to Pope Francis and his lawful successors. In doing so, they express their devotion, loyalty and absolute will to serve the successor of Peter. This year, it will also be possible to follow the ceremony in streaming. The event will be attended only by the families of the guards who will take the oath. Greeting new Swiss Guard recruits and their families last year, the Pope said, "The presence of your family members expresses the devotion of Swiss Catholics to the Holy See, as well as the moral education and good example by which parents have passed on to their children the Christian faith and the sense of generous service to their neighbour." He also told the new recruits in 2020 that the oath they will take is a declaration of fidelity to your baptismal vocation. The programme on the 6th of May will include Holy Mass at 7:30 a.m. with the recruits in St. Peter's Basilica, celebrated by Vatican Secretary of State Cardinal Pietro Parolin, At 5 p.m, the swearing-in ceremony will take place in the San Damasus courtyard and, in the event of bad weather, will be moved to the Paul VI Hall. The Pontifical Swiss Guard is the smallest army in the world, founded by Pope Julius II in 1506, and is responsible for the protection of the Pope, including the security of the Apostolic Palace. It also guards the College of Cardinals during the sedi vacante, or vacant see. The corps includes guards from all parts of Switzerland. Most of them come from the cantons of Saint-Gallen and Valais, and from the canton of Lucerne.
And in other news from the Church around the world, the Church in Brazil will be celebrating a special day of prayer for mission and peace in Haiti on May 1st. The event is being organized by the Bishops' Conference, a Pastoral Commission for Mission and Inter-Ecclesial Cooperation, together with Aid to the Church in Need. And in England, the bishops of England and Wales are encouraging Catholics to pray for and share their faith with people who don't belong to the Church, ahead of the global Thy Kingdom Come prayer initiative held between the celebrations of Ascension and Pentecost this year, the 13th through the 23rd of May. And in world news, in Israel, at least 44 people have been killed and about 150 others injured in a stampede at a religious festival attended by tens of thousands of ultra-Orthodox Jews in the northern part of the country. The tragedy occurred in the early hours of Friday morning, as Linda Bordoni reports.
The nation is in shock, awaiting news of those who remain critically injured in hospital. The victims were crushed to death when large numbers of people thronged a narrow tunnel-like passage during Orthodox Jewish celebrations of Lag BaOmer at Mount Meron. It was the first mass religious gathering to be held legally since Israel lifted nearly all restrictions related to the coronavirus pandemic, and it's estimated there were about 100,000 people present. According to witnesses and video footage, people began falling on top of each other near the end of a walkway as they descended slippery metal stairs. Lag BaOmer draws tens of thousands of people, most of them ultra-Orthodox Jews, each year to honor Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, a 2nd century sage and mystic who is buried there. Large crowds traditionally light bonfires, pray and dance as part of the celebrations. Efforts are still ongoing to identify victims and connect families with missing relatives. In a race against time, funerals are to be held before sundown Friday, the start of the Jewish Sabbath, when burials do not take place. Authorities say it is one of the country's deadliest civilian disasters. 150 people remain in hospital, with 6 in critical condition. I'm Linda Bordoni.
Finally, a reminder to join us tomorrow and every day during the next month for the recitation of the Most Holy Rosary for the end of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Marathon of Prayer during May is an initiative of Pope Francis and will involve Marian shrines around the world. Each day of the month, a different shrine will lead the prayer of the Rosary in their own language for a special intention chosen by the Pope related to the pandemic. Vatican Media will be broadcasting the Rosary each day at 6 p.m. Rome time. You can join us through our Vatican News web portal, our Facebook and YouTube pages, or on television or radio stations through our partners around the world. Many thanks this afternoon to our producers and technicians in studio. In the Vatican, I'm Christopher Wells.